Okay, thank you for clicking to continue to watch. Now, there's a disclaimer. There's no way that I could cover this very complex topic of fear and how we as human beings relate to that um, in 5 minutes. So I'm going to try to go as fast as I can possibly talk, but I want you to kind of put that in perspective into your experiences, your circumstances, what you have gone through to build you to who you are right now, because everybody deals with it differently because of what they have already experienced and learned in their path. And so this is something that I want to share with you because those are the experiences that I have gone through. It does not mean that I'm expert in it. It just means that I'm sharing with you what I have learned when I have contemplated and meditated about fear. And so the first thing I wanted to share with you was when I was preparing for it, I have notes because I really wanted to make sure that I shared my heart with you, and I didn't want to lose my train of thought because I could go on and on. So I got to Siri, and I asked Siri. I have Google Assistant. I said, "Show me Bible verses that talk about fear not." And this is exactly what it responded. It told me a few of them, and it said God actually commands us to not fear or worry. The phrase "fear not" is used at least 80 times in the Bible, most likely because God knows that the enemy uses fear to decrease our hope and limit our victories. I'm going to repeat that. He knows that the enemy uses fear to decrease our hope and limit our victories. And I find that so very true for everybody. Everybody that I know that is gripping with fear paralyzes their growth, their development, their wins. And so that's something that is used. That's why the Bible was very clear. And it's a command. It says, don't fear. It doesn't have an asterisk or a fine print that says, don't fear, except in cases where blah, blah, blah. No, it's don't fear, and that's period. So we're taught not to fear, we're told not to fear, and yet we insist on that. And so these are the things that I've gone through. If you rewind my life in the last, I'm going to say 6 years, these are some of the things that, there are major things that have gone through in our life. And there's more, because we've been married for, it's going to be 29 years right now. And even before, there's so many things that could have totally stopped me from being the person who I am today. But I've chosen to take these steps, and of course I've evolved over the years, but these are the things that have really helped me. So let me just share with you some experiences. Receiving a phone call from the police department saying, come get your son or daughter. I'm gonna say some because I have to, okay? Or receiving a phone call from your boss saying you're no longer needed starting tomorrow. You don't have to show up to work tomorrow. Or receiving a phone call from your doctor saying that we need to sit down with you because the prognosis of the tests are, we need to discuss what we have found. Or receiving a phone call from one of your parents saying your other parent is, we're on the way to the ER right now. Just want to let you know. Or receiving a phone call from one of your siblings saying you need to get on an airplane and come right now because you may not get here in time. Or receiving, a letter in the mail saying, whatever. There's so many things that could have totally paralyzed both Ray and I, and taken really our everything that's in us, and just taken us to another path. But we have, I'm so glad, first of all, that I have a husband that's so strong, but the both of us work together in holding each other. And so I want to preach to you a little bit, because if you don't believe in God, you don't have a higher power, you don't believe that your final destination is totally taken care of, then it's kind of hard to go through anxiety and fear because you don't know. And so when you are sure of where you're going to spend the rest of eternity, it makes all of these things that I'm going to say to you much easier to deal with, because worst case scenario is not so bad, actually is the ultimate. But so that's enough. So I'm going to just put in parentheses right now. If you are not sure where you're going to spend eternity, we need to talk. That's my goal in life, is to help people know exactly where they're going to spend eternity. So if you're not exactly 100% sure, that you have your eternity in a safe, it's good in your head, then we need to have a conversation. Send me a private message, and I'd be glad to have another conversation with you. But today we're going to talk about how to overcome fear. So the first tool that I would suggest, that's something that I use, it's a very effective tool for me when I'm faced with an emergency or something that could grip me and paralyze me, would be to remove myself emotionally from that situation so I can look at it from a technical perspective. So take away my emotions, take away even my personal involvement in that, so I can see it from a neutral perspective, because that helps me create a solution and not sit there in gripping fear. And so if I'm looking at a situation that could really just paralyze me, and I take myself away from that emotionally, and I look at it and I say, okay, let's look at it from a neutral perspective. And another thing that I always tell people that I coach, I say, look at it in what is the worst case scenario in the situation. Some things we can fix, some things are not fixable. Death is inevitable. But if you're looking at a situation and you look at the worst case scenario, okay, sometimes, we're looking, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? And I say to Ray, we're never going to be homeless. We're never going to be hungry. So we're always going to have a place to stay, and we're always going to have food in our table. And we love each other. So the basics are covered. So worst case scenario, it could be bad, but it's not so bad after all. And if we die, we know where we're going. So you see what I'm saying? You need to learn to take yourself emotionally from a situation and look at the worst case scenario. Why do I say that? Because sometimes we make the worst case scenario to be so much bigger than what it really is, that when you really face it front on, and you can see what it actually looks like, it's not so bad. So then you can gain strength to go against it. If it's a 7-headed monster and you're looking at it and you go, I can't possibly overcome that, then you won't. You're right? You're gonna just sit in your corner and curl into a fetal position and suck your thumb. But if you look at the worst case scenario head on and say, okay, if this is what's gonna happen, this is what's gonna look like, and you engage your mind and your creative thinking in that, it's gonna help you create solutions and not be gripped with fear. And so look at worst case scenario, analyze that from a perspective of a neutral position, so then you can say, okay, if this is the worst, if everything else fails and this is what I'm faced with, this is what's gonna look like. Because now you're emotionally prepared to take that on, and that's the case. So now that you're at the bottom of the well and you're looking up, everything that comes up is gonna be better. So now that you looked fear in the face and you said, okay, if this is my only option, what else can I do to make it better? And so now you're prepared to be creative on that, right? So now you're gonna look at it and you can say, okay, I don't want that, and if that's what's gonna happen, this is how I'm gonna feel, and these are the circumstances. But what else? And now so then number one, take yourself emotionally from the situation, look at worst case scenario and analyze it from a neutral perspective. Number two, come up with solutions. Don't be like the self-help book that discusses the problem for the first 20 chapters, and in the last chapter they give you the solution. Don't be that person who keeps just bringing up the problem, saying, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Just create the solution. Be creative in your thinking of what can you do to make this better. Now, again, like I said, there's some things that you can't fix. There's some things that are broken, and you just have to create a new way of living with that situation in your life. We have done that many times over. There's some things that you can't fix, but it's because you are being given another route. You're just being there's a detour in your path that's going to take you to another direction. And when you accept that and you learn from those experiences, so much more rewarding, because then you grow as a person. So number one, take yourself emotionally from the situation, look at it from a critical perspective, so now you can create a solution. And so when I do those two things, when I'm faced with the fear situation with an emergency, with something that's going to grip me and paralyze me, those are the two things that I do. I breathe in, and then I pull myself emotionally out of that, and I look at from the bird's eye perspective, and then I can creatively think of a solution to that. If I cannot, then I engage people that are above me, that have gone through that are wiser than me, and that I trust them to help me come up with a solution. I'm not gonna go to them to cry. I'm gonna go to them to ask for a solution, to ask them to help me creatively think for a solution. And the third thing that I wanna say to you is know yourself. All of us have different personalities. So know yourself and how you react in stressful situations, in surprise situations, in negative situations. Because when you know yourself, you can start learning tools to help you take on those situations. If you don't know yourself, if you're not prepared, it's always a surprise, and then you're always unprepared. So know yourself, know how you react. Look at the past. See, how did you react when you got a phone call, when you were faced with the surprise, when you got into an accident? What did you do in those situations? Because that's your true self. And learn how to really analyze how you can create tools for you to have it on your toolbox. So when those times come, it becomes an automatic response. So learn how to respond to negative situations in your life, where instead of paralyzing, you now know how to act. So that has helped me tremendously, and I hope that this helps you learn how to look at it from another perspective, learn your tools, learn your communication style, learn how you behave, and then once you are set with that, teach the people around you, so then everybody can be on the same boat, and you can minimize all that stress and anxiety and fear from your life. So thank you for watching. Bye.